I want to tell you about a mom whose son has a tic disorder, which means he has these uncontrollable muscle movements. The way he would have tics is he would wince the side of his face and shrug his shoulder, and then he'd do the other side. And sometimes he would make a clicking sound with his mouth when he would do it. Now, he had no control over this whatsoever, and it was completely random. But it usually happened about maybe 4 or 5 times an hour, unless he was stressed, then it would go up. Well, he was 9 years old and he was going in the 4th grade. He also had some pretty severe ADHD. I mean, he literally actually could not sit down and focus on his work unless he had the help of medication. The problem is, every medication the doctor tried just made his tics horribly worse. He was able to focus, but now he was having tics like every minute, sometimes every 30 seconds. So the kids in his class, I mean, they were kids, so they noticed, they asked questions, they giggled, they teased. Some of them were just mean about it. And his mom was in misery. I mean, she was just thinking about what her son was going through every day at school, and it broke her heart. It also took her to a dark place. See, she had a birthmark that was on her neck and on her face. So she knew what it was like to be looked at, to be teased, to have kids giggle at you and talk behind your back. And she did not want that for her kid. Well, when she would get home, what her mom would do would be to ask, "Who teased you today?" Okay, well, we're going to fix this. And then she'd call their parents. Or she'd say, "What happened at school?" Okay, well, I'm going to fix this. Then she'd call the school and talk to a teacher or a principal and make a big scene. And she was also the first little girl that got to wear makeup regularly in her class. Her mom said, "We're going to fix this." And she put the makeup on her neck and her face and say, "That looks much better. You're going to have a better day today." Problem is, none of that stuff really fixed anything. And it gave her a really bad message. You know, it made her start to believe that there was something about her that needed to be hidden. There was something about her that wasn't good enough. And that she needed to avoid her problems and not face things, but look for ways to get out of it easily. And hope that someone else would come along and fix things. It really didn't fix anything. You know? And she carried those negative messages with her well into her adult life. You know? And it wasn't until many years later, through her own personal and spiritual journey, that she really started to realize that there's nothing wrong with her. There's nothing to hide. She learned to believe in herself and to accept herself. And she started wearing less makeup, and she learned how to look right through the stares of other people and believe in herself and know that she's fine. There's nothing wrong with her. She doesn't need to think anything of it. When her son got home from school, she realized that she really couldn't fix this. So she did something different. She would ask him, "Hey, how was your day?" And he put his head down and say, "It was so horrible. It was so bad, Mom." And she'd say, "But you were brave. You went there. You showed up and you did your best. And that's all you ever have to do." And then she would listen. She would listen to how horrible it was, how the kids treated him, and how embarrassed he felt, and how bad he felt about himself. And she said, "I know what that feels like." And then she would share about what it was like for her as a little girl, how she knew how it felt to be different and other kids to tease you and not feel good about yourself. And they would share stories. And then she'd say, "But you were so brave. And I know tomorrow that you're going to be able to show up and do your best. And that's all you ever have to do." So day after day after a horrible day, he went through that, and then they'd talk about it, and they'd share stories, and she'd believe in him and just sit there through his pain and love on him. But over time, he started to believe in himself. He really did. He started to realize, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't have to impress anyone. I don't have to care about what they think. I just have to show up and just be me and do the best I can. And he actually started to own it a little bit too. He'd meet a new kid and he'd do a tic and then he'd say, "Yep, I have a tic disorder. So what lunch do you have?" And he'd just go on with it. And then he developed a few really close friends, and They got used to his tics. It was no big deal. They have fun. They were just normal kids together. And he really started to build confidence. And as the years went on and he got into the teenage years, his tics all but disappeared, which is common for that kind of tic disorder. And he learned how to manage the ADHD much better. And, his mom was kind of surprised that some of the kids that used to tease him when he was a kid were coming over to their house all the time. He had all these teenagers who wanted to hang out with him because he was different now. He was confident. He knew who he was. He believed in himself. He liked himself. When other teenagers were questioning who they were and feeling insecure and trying to be someone they weren't, he knew who he was. He had struggled through all of that, and he was stronger. See, what his mom gave him was an amazing gift. She didn't fix anything. She taught him how to believe in himself. She taught him to accept himself. She taught him to be who he was, to look right through the stares of other people and to accept himself and know there's nothing wrong with him. She didn't fix anything. She showed him how to get stronger. She made the way for him to discover how amazing he was through that struggle. I share that story with you because our kids are going to struggle. Your kids are going to struggle. There's going to be times, there's things that you're just not going to be able to fix for them. What they need from you in that moment is to believe in them, to be proud of them, to show them how brave they are, just to show up and do the best they can day after day after day. And they get stronger through that. And I have a feeling that mom, one day her grandchildren are going to be struggling. And her son is going to sit down with his kids and say, you know what my mom taught me to do when I was struggling? Let me show you how to handle this. Let me show you what we're going to do. Look, it's not easy seeing our kids in pain, but they still need us to be there, even when we can't fix it. So don't give up. Your kids need you. Your family needs you.